Thank you, Director Glasheen. My understanding is a witness may have to leave early today. While I want to be clear, the committee did not agree to a hard stop. All witnesses are here voluntarily and are free to go. If a witness does leave, the hearing will continue with the remaining witnesses. Members will be recognized by order of seniority for their 5 minutes of question. We want to get through as many members as possible, so even though I have been lenient before with the 5 minutes, I'm directing members and witnesses that we're going to strictly enforce the 5-minute rule today. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Secretary Noem, I appreciate you being here today, and you've been on the job less than a year, and this is the second time appearing before the committee, which I think is the norm, and I do really appreciate you being here. And I know you have a very important job to do. You oversee a lot of different sub-agencies, so I know you can't always be here in person. And with that, as a committee, we still want to work with the administration and conduct our oversight. So I'm asking you if you can commit to making sure that in the future, if we want to have a hearing, you'll be able to supply maybe a deputy secretary or somebody to come specifically talk about that.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman. I
really appreciate that communication, and I think collaboration between the administration and Congress is key. Secretary Noem, I also wanted to ask you, in September, the department under FEMA proposed new allocations for counterterrorism grant funding, which cut dollars to New York by 80% because of a new formula. Considering New York is consistently a top terror target, this was surprising. We're grateful President Trump restored this grant funding, and pursuant to the President's direction, has the department increased the allocation to New York?
Yes, President Trump did. I would say that when we look at the Homeland Security grants and how they're allocated, the formula focuses on where we see the threats today and where those communities are that need the resources. I would also inform the committee and you, Mr. Chairman, that New York City at the time of the allocation still had over $440 million in reserve that was available to them to utilize. So the intention of these grants is that communities and cities would use the dollars to build up the security measures that they need to do for a long-term impact, and that the same amount of dollars aren't necessary every single year. You need to meet the threats where they are in the country at the time the grant dollars are available. So thank you to all of you for your work on getting us dollars that we can give to grants to help secure our local communities and states. But when we're looking at cities that have hundreds of millions of dollars in reserves, we recognize that giving them hundreds of dollars of millions more may not be appropriate considering all of the threats that we have. But President Trump has sent more resources to New York City. We'll continue to meet the threats head on because that is our mission, is to make sure that we're looking at every single threat that we have. The formula that we have considered and have put in place recognizes what came over the border, where we see the infiltration going, which communities are impacted, and what we need to do to harden our systems.
I appreciate that, Secretary, and I appreciate the work you're doing with the President. I appreciate his decision to send that increased money to New York. I have a question. Since this is about worldwide threats, can you discuss what DHS's most significant concerns are today for the country?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, what keeps me up at night is that we don't necessarily know all of the people that are in this country, who they are and what their intentions are. We think up to 15 to 20 million people came in under the Biden administration on the invasion over the southern border. They were not vetted. They were allowed to pour in. Our parole programs, our asylum programs, our visa programs were all exploited, and the integrity was demolished under Joe Biden and the leadership at the Department of Homeland Security, and frankly, the entire department was neglected. In fact, I believe the Secretary was told at times not to do certain things by the Biden administration to facilitate this invasion. So what keeps me up at night is the individuals that are in this country that wish to do us harm. And that is why we are so aggressive at making sure that we're going out and doing investigative work, finding those violent criminals, finding those people who shouldn't be in this country to begin with, and those that want to go after and to harm our American citizens.
Thank you, Secretary. Director Glasheen, as you heard and as you said, during the next few years, the United States will host more major events than ever before. This brings obvious security concerns, including counter drones, which we just passed some new authorities in the NDAA yesterday. How is the FBI preparing for counter drone threats during mass gathering events?
Chairman, thank you for that question. Counter UAS, the passage of the legislation yesterday is a game changer for us. How we're preparing for that going forward, we just stood up a counter UAS school down in Huntsville, Alabama, where we will train federal officials, state locals, as well to assist with that preparation and implementation of using counter UAS technology. Prior to this passage, it was only the FBI and/or DHS that could provide that assistance. Now that this passage of authority, it will allow us to have a greater handling of the threat to a mass event.
Thank you very much. I yield back. I now recognize